Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back for an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in the studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are currently listening to the entertainment edition of the ODPH, but we definitely want to continue the conversation with you after the show, so definitely swing on over to odphpodcast.com, joining the conversation on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, Podchaser. Drop that 5-star review while you're there. TikTok, you name it, we are on there, and just use the hashtag ODPHpod. We pop right up. That all being said, we want to kick off this edition recapping what is going on in the fallout of the first major con of the year, would you say, Pat?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm sure there's probably been some other ones, but this is like the first of the big, 3, 4, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to be recapping the events of Comic-Con at Home, otherwise known as San Diego Comic-Con 2021 Part 1.
AKA the best opportunity most of us will have to get into that con.
Correct. So obviously this time of year, we do know it's synonymous with the big Hall H moments and everything that goes on in San Diego. And obviously, they decided to do virtual this year, which is perfectly understandable. And last year, they went virtual as well. And they were the first ones to kick off the virtual con era, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And last year was met with mixed results. So this year, there was a lot going into it. Marvel, DC, all did not have panels scheduled for it for their movie projects.
Yep.
So this one we previewed last week, and we did find some gems that we want to talk about. And then the fallout is where we're going to kind of deep dive into, because there are some stories that came out of this.
Yeah.
So there was some definite news, and we do definitely want to thank everybody involved with putting San Diego Comic-Con at Home together. Did a great job. And let's just jump into it. Pat, what panels were sticking out to you, would you say?
Oh, I was a little busy, so I didn't get to see everything. But the couple I did see, obviously the Dragon Ball Super one jumped out at me simply because, hey, I'm really excited for it. That, like I mentioned on last week's show, and I should note there's the one show, Dragon Ball Heroes, that's not canon. So, I realize that's ongoing, but that's not canon. But in terms of the canon, timeline, Dragon Ball Super Broly was the latest thing to happen in the timeline, and that came out a couple years ago. I want to say that came out in 2019, 2018, something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's been, and the anime has been off for quite a while now. I know the manga for Dragon Ball Super is ongoing. I'm going through and reading the manga for the first time myself. I've gotten through Dragon Ball. I'm going through Dragon Ball Z right now. So in terms of like current up to date where we are, things were broadcast, it's been a while. And I got that itch. Don't get me wrong. I like rewatching Dragon Ball Z. I like rewatching Super in the movies, but I need that new stuff. So I was definitely excited for this, and I figured we wouldn't get much out of this because, let's face it, Akira Toriyama and the crew behind the Dragon Ball franchise are very notoriously tight-lipped about, everything.
Right.
And understandably so. We did get a bit of a teaser trailer, although it's, not much to go off of. It's just simply Goku running around, in like a newer look animation-wise. And then it features the title of the movie, which will be titled Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and it is slated to premiere sometime in 2022. So definitely excited for that, and excited for more information. I cannot wait.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is definitely still big and popular.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think anybody that thought it just quietly went away doesn't really understand it. It definitely has a fan base that's rabid for new content.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that we're going to be kind of dabbling around with that, I mean, you're the biggest DBZ guy I know.
Oh yeah, no, it's been an integral part of my life simply from when it started showing on television. I don't remember what channel. I know it eventually ended up on Cartoon Network and was shown on Toonami weekday afternoons. So that was like the staple when I got home from school was turn on the TV. Dragon Ball Z is coming on, because that's all all my friends are going to be talking about the next day at school. But I remember seeing the first couple episodes on like one of the weird, odd, low number channels at like 6 a.m. before I was getting ready for school. That like, my dad would get me up. I'd go downstairs and I'd grab my breakfast, flip on the TV, and there's this show on that I'm like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. Nothing else was on at that point. and this was before, seeing like channel guides and being able to just look at a whim. We still had to deal with the rolling ticker that took 9 years. So I came across it way back in the very mid to late 90s and got hooked from there ever since. And it's just been such a part of my life that I love it.
Yeah, so that was exciting.
Yeah.
For me, the big winners of San Diego Comic-Con this year was the Walking Dead universe.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, which obviously going into their next seasons, and I say seasons plural because they do still have 3 shows on AMC.
Yep.
We really were thinking, okay, maybe the franchise was running out of low gas. We weren't going to see a lot coming from the flagship show.
Sure.
Obviously, Worlds Beyond is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It exists.
It exists. I mean, I'll just kind of leave it at that. But the franchise, in my eyes, is Fear the Walking Dead. So when they had everything lined up, I was like, okay, how are we going to go about this? What's really going to translate? What's really going to stand out? I honestly thought all 3 did a good job.
Okay.
I honestly did. Like I said, I love affair for Worlds Beyond. Goes without saying, but I thought for what they brought to the table, it was at least entertaining.
Okay.
So they're going to be kicking off their season October 3rd. We did see a little kind of teaser footage of what to expect. It looks interesting.
Okay.
Is it enough to bring me back into the show? Well, yes and no.
I mean, it's a swan song. You're going to watch.
Well, I'm probably going to check it out because obviously Scott M. Gimple, who's the executive producer, is really saying that it's going to tie into a lot of things.
Sure.
So it's going to be one of those shows like I feel I have to watch.
Sure.
But I'm not like, yeah. Like you think about your major crossovers in comics and how they always have the spinoffs.
Yeah.
And if you read the spinoffs, you're going to get a bigger payoff to the story. Kind of the same vibe I am feeling with this.
Sure.
So we do know that is going to be coming October 3rd on AMC. For me, though, I got super geeked up about Fear the Walking Dead Season 7. Got a release date of October 17th. They're coming back to AMC. Did get some teaser footage, obviously, of last year's nuclear fallout from the crazy serial killer and Pat's favorite guy from Smallville, John Glover.
Yeah.
Teddy got his almost perfect dream happening before he was killed off. And now we are living in a nuclear wasteland with our survivors. And everybody's a little displaced. We only got to see the one and only Morgan, played by Lenny James, who is definitely getting used to the world that is around him with Karen David, who plays Grace on the show. And they have Rachel's daughter with them. So didn't really give a lot of footage away. Like, it wasn't like the New York Comic-Con panel where they gave you the first 10 minutes and it was like, okay, I'm in, like, let's go. It was just basically them waking up in the submarine that's above ground, and the baby is hungry. They go out to check for food, and you kind of see what the fallout is.
Okay.
It's very straightforward. It's not, like I said, a sizzle reel. It didn't make me go like, oh, man, like, whoa, what's going on here? But since I saw last season, I definitely am like, I'm more intrigued to see how this is going to go, because in the Walking Dead universe, we really haven't seen the environment become an antagonist to this level. I know that we deal with sometimes in the comics, they dealt with the different seasons and such, and I get that. But when have we ever seen something like a nuclear fallout affect not only the survivors, but the zombies?
Admittedly, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, so this is a very cool twist that they're doing. I'm curious how this is going to play out, and obviously, if you've been listening to the show for a long time, you do know that I thought the absolute world of Season 6 of the show, so I am super excited to see where we're going to be in Season 7, and obviously that is going to be kicking off October 17th on AMC.
Okay.
Then we get to the flagship show, which is always an interesting time because the cast has known each other for so long. I mean, obviously being on the air for 11 years, you have that camaraderie. And they definitely seem to still have the same energy about the show, which is great.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not going to be complaining about that. And then we did get the trailer for Season 11.
Mm-hmm.
So that is going to be kicking off August 22nd on AMC.
Yep.
And it's going to be 24 episodes. But what we found out is they're going to be splitting them up into 8 episode half seasons or arcs.
Blocks.
Yeah. So we did get to see a little teaser footage of what's going on there. We did see that Negan is basically figuring out what is going on with his role with the survivors.
Yep.
We do see some cameos from a new group that is going to be the antagonist of this season.
Sure.
We did see a little bit of Brave New World. If you read the comic story arc, you know who's involved with that.
Yeah.
We did see that somebody is going to be getting eaten. We don't know who, except I think they kind of tipped their hand, but I don't want to spoil that for anybody. And you did see some kind of jumping around, and it almost seemed like they were building up for the send-off for Carol and Daryl. There's a couple scenes in there that either they're well placed or they're kind of overshadowed about where those two are going to be going into their spin-off show, which we do know is happening.
Right.
But I thought it was a good trailer. I didn't get like a wow, like, take my money now.
Yeah.
I'm locked in. But I thought it was entertaining about it. Pat, I know you caught the trailer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely excited for it, and I'm definitely going to watch it. I know it's not as good as it used to be, but I'm not so soured on it that I'm like, F this. I'm just going to catch it when it hits Netflix. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to watch. It's been still, it's in the same vein of like, it's Smallville for me.
Yeah. Where
Smallville was a part of my life for 10 years, from the time I was in middle school up through high school, even into college. It's been such a part of my life that like I remember hearing about the show way back when G4 was still on TV and Attack of the Show was on, and they were talking about, the show filming and needing extras down in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was about zombies. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really into that, whatever. So, but then the buzz started building and everybody was talking about it. So like I was in college. I borrowed a friend's Netflix password, binged the entire first season that was on Netflix in a night because it was only 6 episodes. And on a Friday night, Saturday night, binged the entire first season, and then through other means watched the first half of season 2 because at that point they were on their mid-season break for season 2. So it was probably the fastest I've ever gone through a show, because once I got through that first episode I was like, yo, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So I know it's not as good as it used to be, but I'm still going to watch. I'm still excited.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of shifted gears a little bit to fear, because the one thing that drives me absolutely nuts about the flagship show, they got away from taking risks.
Yeah.
And they really have made these characters safe. And I know that sounds really weird, but let's face it. Ever since Negan killed Glenn, which I'm sorry, if you read the comics, and I keep screaming about this.
It's verbatim.
Read the comics. It's page by page. That's what happened. Everybody knew it was coming.
So the only difference was Abraham wasn't there.
Exactly, but they kind of retconned that because he died earlier. So it all makes sense at the end of the day. But ever since that moment and the public reaction to it when we're dealing with mainstream fans, they've played it super safe.
Yeah, and I know you and I were having conversations about this years before it aired, because we were talking. We were both saying, like, we don't know how they're going to do this because of just how violent and gruesome it is. Mm-hmm. And we were like, there's no way people are going to be able to sit through this afterwards.
Yeah. It's going to be something that mainstream fandom and pop culture got a real cold awakening, so to speak.
It's a real cold shower.
Yeah, because we all knew this happens in the comics. Yeah. But ever since then, like I said, it just feels like they play it safe. And you could say, well, what about Carl? And what about moments like that? Sure. But I don't think that was really
that was almost a gotcha moment where it was like, oh, he got bit, and remember it was in that one scene, and I'm like, yeah, okay, you feel like you're reaching.
Yeah, it just didn't have that kind of same impact. So it's interesting to see how it all plays out, but to see that they got this far, I'm still amazed that it's going, and good for them, because like I said, I don't like to see anybody out of work.
Yeah,
but it's also at the same point has the story run its course. Obviously, in the comics, it ended abruptly.
Yeah,
but it still ended.
Yeah.
So now we're going to deal with whatever the final episode is going to be for these characters. We do know that the Rick Grimes movie is coming.
Allegedly.
And allegedly Worlds Beyond is not connected to it, which
believe that when I see it.
I'm still saying wait and see on that one. I'm not buying that talk just yet.
We've seen TV producers and movie producers say, no, this absolutely isn't that thing that the entire internet thinks it is. Like the one that comes to mind is J.J. Abrams in Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
Like, Benedict Cumberbatch's character isn't Khan. Promise, we're not doing that story again. Oh, hey, just kidding. We're doing that story again.
Yeah, so I'm waiting to really see how this plays out. Like I said, if I need to force myself to watch Worlds Beyond, I'll do it just to see what the payout is going to be. And I'm still saying Rick Grimes is going to show up at the end. You're going to see Andrew Lincoln walking on there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Either way, I thought the TWD universe won.
That's good.
Like I said, I gave him first prize at San Diego Comic-Con. I know that there was a big Star Wars panel that was lined up for you.
Yes, there was. I was super amped up for this. I even stopped playing Mass Effect think I was playing Mass Effect 2 at the time.
Oh, shoot.
Because I bought the Legendary Edition. I've been going through that. But I stopped playing Mass Effect 2, partially because I was doing laundry and partially because I knew this was coming on. But it was the Star Wars The High Republic panel that was taking place. It was unveiling their next wave because they're doing it in phases like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but then they're also releasing stuff in waves. So they discussed that, and they had on the authors Claudia Gray, Charles Soule, Justina Ireland, and Daniel Jose Older to kind of talk about what they've been doing and what they've been going on. Just cut into the nitty gritty, what they got coming out that I am super excited for. So the whole, I guess, wave you could say is titled "The Light of the Jedi Goes Dark."
Ooh.
So you've got Claudia Gray returning, and I'm reading courtesy of the article from Cinelinx.com. Quote, Claudia Gray returns after taking a wave off with Del Rey's The Fallen Star, this wave's final adult title. The book picks up after the events of Kevin Scott's recently released The Rising Storm, and although Claudia didn't reveal any details, I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say we are very excited for this one. Her first wave book, Into the Darkness, was a bestseller like the rest and introduced us to a bunch of really great characters, most of who make appearances in the Wave 2 series of books. So yeah, definitely excited for this. Claudia Gray writes some great stuff, and if it's picking up right after Kevin Scott's book, which I'm in the process of going through, and it is fantastic. Super excited to see where they go for that. From the folks over at Disney/Lucasfilm Press, they have two books coming out. One is Daniel Jose Older's young adult book, Midnight Horizon. It's a book he described as, quote, a chaotic mess. And then you've got Justina Ireland is going back to the middle grade with a seemingly equally dark Mission to Disaster. Quote, she didn't reveal any details about the book, but she was asked about the returning Jedi Venestra Rowe for her Wave 2 book, Out of the Shadows, the character she first introduced us to in the book A Test of Courage. She said, quote, for me, it's not a revisiting, but I'm hoping that readers will enjoy seeing a little bit more adult version of Venestra. In young adult, we can deal with a little more heavier issues that we necessarily can't with a middle grade or children's novel. They also discussed with Justina, and I didn't know this was coming. I'm kind of excited for this. Justina's serialized fiction offering, along with Kevin Scott, to Star Wars Insider Magazine, and she's also working on a Star Wars manga release titled Edge of Balance, which is coming out in September. And I'm looking at the page for the listing on Viz Media. You can pre-order it now on Viz Media, and yeah, it's a Star Wars manga, which I know we were talking about, a couple weeks ago or whatever it was. I don't see that too often, so that's super exciting. As for Charles Soule, quote, he gets to return home to Marvel Comics for a 2-issue limited series called The Eye of the Storm, which goes into the backstory of the popular Nihil leader, that's the antagonist group for this whole scenario, Marchion Ro. Quote, he's not the boss, he's subservient to the Tempest runners of the Nihil. But over the course of the Light of the Jedi, he shows that he's the one who's been in control all the time. He takes control of the Nihil and gives them this higher purpose. Close quote. And I believe, if I remember right, that the comic that Charles Soule is going to be doing is going to be like 60-something pages.
Holy smokes.
So it's going to be nuts, and I cannot wait. All of this kicking off in 2022.
Can't go wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Solid stuff, and it's always cool seeing Charles Soule writing that.
Yeah, it is.
I'm definitely geeked up for that. Speaking of some comics, because you did mention he's returning to Marvel, Marvel had one panel there that definitely caught my eye.
Okay.
It was their X-Men panel, definitely were teasing a lot of what is going on, of the trial of Magneto, which we do know is kicking off with the death of the Scarlet Witch. I don't think it's a spoiler at this page, because
it's been on the internet for like 3 weeks.
It's gone all over the place. So to see how this is going to fall out, and then Inferno, which is basically Mystique versus everybody, because the coalition of Xavier, Magneto, and Apocalypse really have not come through on a bargain that they made with her.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and that's not the person you want to tick off.
No.
Just putting that out there, because when they have not brought back her dead lover, Destiny, and Mystique is now fed up and is going to take that whole.
I feel like she's got to be careful.
Down.
She's got to be careful, though, just because with all of the mutants, presumably working together and being all chummy with each other, you could theoretically put together a team that is like the murderer's row, to borrow the term from the Yankees, the murderer's row of mutants that like you could put together a list of like 5 or 6 of the most powerful Omega level mutants and be like, here, try your luck. Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting how this plays out. Because Mystique has always been a character that you think, is just a shapeshifter and can't really hang on that Omega level, but she does.
Oh, yeah. And you got to figure part of that's from the movies and the animated shows.
I'll give you that, but when she's written well in the comics, man, she's a great character.
Sure.
So I'm very intrigued about this because if they're going to copy the Inferno from the previous run, yeah, that was going to be skipping that at the shelves. But this one definitely has my intrigue, and the one big takeaway is they were kind of alluding to paraphrase, a lot of the questions we've had since Jonathan Hickman developed this new stat quo is going to get answered. So this could be the end of the run at Kuroka. I don't know if it's going to. I mean, this has definitely been something that...
all good things must come to an end.
...has been a question mark. I agree with you because everything has just been too aligned up with the X-Men. And like I say, there's a lot of people that really love it.
Yeah.
A lot of people really hate it.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I fell off of it just because of life and didn't get a chance. But, like, I still am aware of some of the stuff that's going on. It feels like they've been chummy for a little too long. That, like, I know they've had their issues, and I know they're chummy, and I know they're good together. But if I'm like... this honeymoon, so to speak, feels like it's going on a little too long.
It definitely does.
And it's going to break in the worst way possible.
Because somebody has to break it. And I know that they've alluded to way in the past it's going to be Mr. Sinister. But it seems like Mystique is going to be the match that lights the spark.
Probably.
And I'm here for it because this will bring up some real interesting stories, I feel.
I'm saying that, when, like you said, when we're well, she's not afraid to burn that you-know-what to the ground.
Yeah, and obviously to ruin the utopia that has been built in this crazy idea from Hickman. And for me, I personally love the idea because this has been such a fresh concept.
Oh, and it's so different.
Yeah, like I say, we haven't seen this before in the X-Men line. And if you grew up in the 90s era where there was 20 books of the X-Men a month, and a lot of them kind of were going through the motions, so to speak, to see something fresh, I'm like, give it to me.
Well, and to kind of cross over shows here, you know, Magneto versus Xavier and all of their subsidiaries is kind of like Randy Orton versus Sheamus in the WWE. Mm-hmm. We've seen it so many goddamn times that it's kind of overdone.
Yeah. And I know they play the frenemy angle very well.
Sure.
But this is something that's going to be interesting to see how the trial of Magneto goes out and what's the fallout from that is going to be, and then where Xavier is going to be at when all this is said and done. Because, like I say, this has been his dream. It's finally been realized, and now is falling down around him. Great for the readers. Not good for him, but that's okay. But that I thought was a really fun panel because obviously I've been reading the X-Men. Like I said, Marauders I really loved, and X-Force is one of my favorite books. So a lot of stuff for me there. And then to flip it to DC because, like we said at the beginning of the show, both of them did not come with any movie projects. Not a lot of TV stuff.
Right.
But they did have the Batman Fear State panel.
Okay.
And it's interesting to see that Scarecrow is going to be the next big orchestrator of chaos in Gotham.
Sure.
And almost doing a rebuilding through fear. So this is supposed to allegedly set up a new fresh start moving forward for the next year.
Sure.
The books that were connected was going to be Batman, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, Nightwing are all going to be involved.
Sure.
Sounds interesting. Not sure how this is going to play out, especially just coming off the heels of the Joker War. It just seems like it just seems too close.
It's gonna be interesting though, just because of what they've been doing in the comics lately, where Bruce Wayne ain't got no money.
Yeah,
he's living in an apartment in the middle of Gotham. He don't have the mansion. He don't have the Batcave. He has all the tech and the tools, but like he's got to fix them himself, and he can't just go, "Oh, I'll just buy a new one." Like, no, he's got to take care of it. And to see him now have to take on Scarecrow is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think so. For what they've been doing, the Bat line has just been awesome. And honestly, the best Bat book on the market right now, and this is tough to with all the competition, Nightwing by Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
Ridiculously good. Highest possible recommendation. Just going to put that out there. Another panel that jumped out to me, and I know Pat is definitely a fan of too, is the Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
panel.
Yeah.
So they had a little kind of Q&A with Jodie Whittaker and some of the other cast. And we did get a big casting announcement, I thought anyway. We have somebody coming over from Game of Thrones, Jacob Anderson, who we know is Grey Worm.
Yep.
He is going to be joining the cast for season 13. They did do a teaser trailer, so to speak, but honestly, there wasn't a lot behind it.
No.
It just kind of said the Doctor will be back this year.
Yeah.
Not really sure what to expect.
Yeah.
I don't mind Jodie Whittaker's run as the Doctor.
Yeah.
I thought she's done a great job with it. I know a lot of fans have not been liking the storyline that's been going on, but
Sure.
I think it's been okay. Like, I have not had any issue with it. I think she's rocking it out of the park. So very interested to see when she comes back and to see how Jacob Anderson fits in the equation. We do know he's going to be playing a character known as Vinder.
Okay.
And we'll kind of see how this all plays out, because with Doctor Who, you never know what you're going to expect.
Well, if it's anything like the last time a Game of Thrones alum was on Doctor Who in Maisie Williams, it's going to be probably fucking crazy, because Maisie Williams has been added to Doctor Who for the season. Oh, that'll be interesting. Oh my God, this story's crazy.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what they have in store for season 13. That's going to be a lot of fun. And another show that jumped out to me was The Return of Dexter.
Yeah.
Now, Pat, I know you're not into Dexter.
Nope, and that's not for like any evil or malicious reasons. I simply didn't have Showtime when it was on. It's that simple.
Yeah. Dexter, obviously America's most well-known serial killer who kills serial killers.
Yeah.
Definitely has carved his own place in TV history.
For good and bad reasons.
Yeah, because when the show came out originally, it was fantastic.
It's a really interesting concept, I'll say that.
Yeah, Michael C. Hall plays Dexter. And just the concept of where he goes to handle his demons and dealing with him being a serial killer, it's very fascinating. When they got to season 4 against John Lithgow as the Trinity Killer, perfect season. Can't speak highly enough of it. The fact we went on 8 more times after that, and it's very hit and miss, and especially the last season, in my opinion, is not good. You can at me at OD Parlay Hour all you want to try to defend it. You're not going to get anywhere. I respect your opinion, but please respect mine. It wasn't good. Then we finally have now come back since 2013 to where we are going to see Dexter resume what he does best, debuting November 7th on Showtime.
Okay.
So this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, because we do know that he is no longer the Dexter we once knew, has a new identity.
Sure.
We do know that this is going to be absolutely crazy looking at the trailer. It does capture some of the awkwardness that Dexter brings, because he's not exactly the most normal person to be with.
Well, what I thought I saw the quote from Michael C. Hall over the weekend that, like, given how the last season went, and it's specifically the last episode, and just how fans took it, to put it mildly, he said that they had to come back and do another season, and I'm like, yeah, you kind of have to.
Well, you think about it like this, Pat. The show, at one point, was TV's best show on air.
Right, and I remember, I forget the site, like whether it's Metacritic or like some other site where it rates and like aggregates scores and that type of stuff. They're like, it was super highly rated for a long time, and then it just kind of like down the tube.
Well, it's almost to a point where you get to that one season of a show, and I think we all have that if it's a long-running show. They do a perfect season in the fans' eyes.
Sure.
After that, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
And that's the problem that Dexter had, because season 4, I will scream to the top of my lungs, John Lithgow, Trinity Killer.
Yeah.
Best season they've done. After that, you knew it was going to have a fall. It's not like in pro wrestling. We have a big main event pop, and then the crowd has to kind of rebuild itself. Same thing. And they just never got back on that same page. And that last season was just so all over the place, in my opinion, that even the ending was like, what the
Well, it's like in baseball, you know, you're trying to hit a home run or a grand slam, but all you're doing is striking out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened here. But the new trailer came out. It looks fun. It looks interesting. It captured kind of like the early Dexter vibe to it. We did see that Clancy Brown is going to be involved in the show. Rumored that he's going to be the Dexter's main foe this season.
All right.
So we'll kind of have to wait to see how that plays out. I'm excited for it. I gotta say, Dexter for me, like, it was one of the best shows I've watched.
Sure.
And then just getting through those last seasons was like pulling teeth. Not gonna lie about that. A few other shows that had trailers that definitely stood out to me. We did see the first trailer for Chucky debuting on Sci-Fi and USA.
Yeah.
That's gonna be dropping in October.
People are all sorts of excited for that.
You know, if you're into the Child's Play movie franchise and Chucky and the horror genre, there's a lot to like about it.
Well, when you think about it, how many horror shows outside of zombies are there on television right now?
Very little.
Very few.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's certain shows that like push the envelope a little bit, but like nothing that's immediate like this is horror.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree with you about this. And this show definitely captured that vibe. It had that 80s feel to it. Chucky was doing Chucky things, and it's all over the place. But if you're into that franchise, you're going to be happy with it. Like, I am not the biggest person about that.
So Lord knows there'll probably be Easter egg galore.
Oh, yeah. But there was a lot of stuff that you could take away and be happy about. That is slated to drop in October. Another show that's coming to Sci-Fi was Day of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
And George Romero's, like, homage they're doing to his zombie world. This one, I got to say, it kind of had the happy vibe to it in the sense of there was a lot of over-the-top stuff going on.
Well, they got to fill that void.
Exactly. And I get it, but there was just a lot of over-the-top reactions about zombies and what they were doing. And, like, I understand it's an homage to George Romero. I'm completely cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious to see the longevity of this show. And I'm not trying to pan it already because I thought the trailer was entertaining for what it was.
Right, but you feel like there's only so much they can get out of it.
Yeah. And don't think I forgot Sci-Fi. Deadly Class. I still am not over that. Never have lost. But that show is going to be debuting too, and like I said, it looked very interesting for that franchise.
Right.
Especially for zombies, though, it's kind of like you got to do something new at the table for me.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm not ripping on it. I don't think it was a bad trailer.
Yeah, there's a lot of zombie shows out.
It's a lot of zombie shows, and it's got to really do something to stand out. And for me, it was very over the top. And like I said, some of the stuff felt like I was watching Happy.
And I'll be honest, it feels like we're reaching a point with zombie shows because we've got the 3 from The Walking Dead. You've got Z Nation, which ran for a while, but I'm not sure if it's still going. And then you've got Black Summer on Netflix. And that's just the ones I know of. I'm sure there's probably more out there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that they got to compete with. So we'll wait to see what happens. And Sci-Fi, I'm waiting to see what happens with it. If they really get behind it and really run with it, I think they should. Based off the trailer, I think it definitely deserves a full season run. And then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. And while you're at it, bring back Deadly Class. Just saying. But talking about some other network shows, I guess I should say streaming, that is. Netflix had some trailers going out, too, as well. They debuted the final season trailer for Lucifer, which is coming back in September. Yeah. That's got a big cult following. It looked okay for what it was.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of the show, but it definitely will get the fan base going,
sure.
if it will. Definitely give them something worth watching. And also they had a trailer for The Army of Thieves, which is the prequel for The Army of the Dead, produced by Zack Snyder.
I saw a quote from him that he and Netflix didn't realize how big Army of the Dead would be on that streaming platform. Dude's being humble. Do you not realize how rabid your fan base is? As soon as they announced that thing, I'm like, well, that's going to be a huge hit for them.
Well, you would think so. And I understand what you're saying, because when we think Zack Snyder, we associate Snyderverse. I get you on that. This one, though, I honestly wasn't sure, but it definitely took off.
Oh, and I'm not just even referring to the Snyder cut or the Snyderverse. I'm just specifically referring to his fans that will get a hashtag trending on Twitter worldwide for multiple days. Will purchase to fly a banner over an award show. Will purchase, those advertisements you see in the waiting things for buses on the street. That's how dedicated they are to him and his craft. I was not surprised at all when it was such a huge hit for them.
Yeah, I could definitely see that point too. I mean, he does have a very passionate fan base.
Yeah.
So to see how this one plays out, I thought it looked entertaining. I definitely am going to give this one.
I still got to watch the first one. It's deep in my queue and I keep forgetting about it.
Yeah, same here. It's just getting lost and stuff. I started and then I get called away for something. But this one I definitely want to check out. Like I said, thought it looked good for what I saw. And then we did get a little noise from Mr. One Oscar Isaac, who chimed in for another panel, but definitely was on the Moon Knight set.
Okay.
And the only thing you could really take away is he said it's going to be a wild, wild show.
Oh, I'm sure.
He was hyping Moon Knight.
I've seen the training videos. It's nuts.
It's nuts, and if you're not familiar with that character, Marvel fans, get familiar ASAP, because this show should be going in a lot of crazy directions.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to see the first trailer for it, and obviously we are just light years away from that. The only thing we had new get dropped was the Shang-Chi rather.
Yep.
Final trailers, because the movie's coming out within a month. But for Marvel-wise, it was kind of interesting to see that he was chiming in and hyping that movie up, which is cool to see. And then the only other one that really stuck out to me, and I'm kind of very polarized by this, but I know, Pad, you definitely are a fan of this show.
Okay.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, they did have a panel there at Con, and we did hear some announcements.
Okay.
One was Matt Ryan is retiring playing John Constantine.
Okay.
He is going to still be on the show, though,
Sure.
playing a new character known as Dr. Gwen Davies,
Hmm.
who is a scientist, I believe,
Okay.
and is going to tie into wherever the direction is going to go for the next season.
All right.
Thoughts on him retiring John Constantine?
I mean, it makes sense. You know, I think originally when he played the character on the fucking god awful, like, I dare you to try and get through that show. I got through maybe an episode and a half, and I quit. It was just bad because the first episode, a lot of promise. Second episode, off a cliff. But I loved his portrayal. Like, it was one of those instances, like, he's doing great work with what he has, but the work he's being given is cow shit, you know. So, but I loved him, and so when they announced he was coming on Legends of Tomorrow, I'm like, awesome. I'm all for seeing more of him as the role. I got no issues with him as the role. It's just what he was given for the show was terrible. And I think originally it was supposed to be just a short run, half season, maybe a full season, you know, for the purposes of the story. But the fans dug it so much that, all right, let's keep you around. So for him leaving, not entirely surprising. I'm sure, you know, it's very, you know, time consuming filming the show, given all the work that gets put in with the costumes and then, you know, the acting and having to go up to Vancouver to film, which is special, which normally isn't that big of an issue, but, you know, the last year and a half has been a little bit of an issue. You know, so I'm sure he's got other projects that, you know, he's really wanted to jump in on, you know, just from, you know, a personal perspective of like, oh, I think I could really do a lot of great work with that role, but shit, it's conflicting with me filming this TV show. So it makes sense, and I'm all right with it.
Yeah, well, like I said, he'll be around for season 7, so I'm not sure the duration of it. And I actually called up from comicbook.com. Davies is described as an eccentric scientist from the early 20th century who might be the team's only hope next season, as though this time is not clear what the team will be facing in season 7.
So he's promoting shake weights. Got it.
Yeah, so this could go a lot of different ways. I know they gave the trailer out for the next episode, which I believe is dropping August 8th. And it's more wacky hijinks that only the Legends are doing right now. Like I say, we've kind of gone away from the Doctor Who vibe to we're making this into a very much comedy.
Yeah, and I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind comedic aspects in the show. It can't be serious drama like Law and Order type stuff for like the entire hour because then it just gets overdone. But when you take the show and kind of make it all comedy with a little bit of seriousness, I don't really enjoy that.
Yeah, this is kind of just really gone off from where they used to be about this. And I got to admit, I've kind of tuned out a lot lately on even watching the trailer now because we're finally having the marriage between Sarah Lance and Ava.
Oh,
so the wedding is happening.
Should have done that a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, but somebody ruins it, a new character.
That figures.
And then they're going bowling because...
Why not?
Reasons. It kind of looks like it's all over the place a little bit, and we do see how I guess they're setting up for John Constantine dealing with dark magic that's going to kill him.
Sure.
So I think that this is how they're writing off the character of John Constantine.
They missed out on a golden opportunity to write him out of the show last season.
Yeah, I agree.
That was your perfect opportunity, given everything he went through, and then to come out of it on the other side. Could have been like, you know what? I've been through some stuff. I'm going to hit the beach. I'll see you later.
It would have been interesting to go that way. I think that would have been a stronger one to do. But, you know, like I say, they want to do it how they're going to do it. I can't be mad about that. It's just how Legends is really transcended over the years.
Yeah.
Into where we are now. And it's kind of, I miss the old vibe to it.
Yeah.
And plus, one thing that I've always said with the show is I think you need to rehash your lineups each
Yeah.
year. And I know this one,
Yeah.
there's not that big, like, overpowering threat going on.
No.
You know, that we had like Firestorm the one season. We had Kid Flash make a run, which I thought they should have had him on there.
Yeah.
Keep Wally West on that team. So to see kind of how we're changing up the stat quo now and it's just getting more funny than drama.
Right. And I mean, like you said, you need to have that overbearing force to kind of like keep viewers in, and like you and myself especially. And I know the last season I watched where it was the one where they were jumping through time and it was with Marie Antoinette and Rasputin and all the other characters that like it was hard to track at times. So like, who is the big bad? What is going on? You know, it's not like Damien Dark's rolling through or anything like that. But it was still like, oh, where are we going to show up this week? What famous moment in history are we going to jump in on that really kept me involved with that? And they really gone away from that.
Yeah, it's just kind of really gone off where the trajectory they were at originally.
Yeah.
But we do know this episode that they gave the trailer for, I believe, is debuting on August 8th, and then they come back for season 7 on October 13th.
Wow.
So a lot of time in between. I know the CW schedule's all over the place because they do have certain shows coming back, certain shows are
Superman and Lois on for 2 weeks, off for 2 weeks, back again.
Yeah, and then we have Supergirl waiting in the wings, and then Stargirl is coming back too as well. So a lot of stuff to take away from San Diego Comic-Con. I know there's a lot more panels we could really even deep dive in more to. And overall, Pat, what was the vibe that you had for the show here?
It was all right. It was better than last year, but I think that's because they took the time. They looked at the criticisms people took, and I think they also took a look at what some of the other folks, around the world did, especially with, WB, Fandom. They looked at the other stuff, and then they took some notes, and they took some ideas, and they definitely made it better. I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you, too. I don't want to give it a letter grade, but I definitely want to say it was better than last year.
Yeah.
There at times, though, it was a little hard for me to navigate to find the panels I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
That's my only, but maybe that was on me. But I'm just saying, in comparison to New York Comic Con, where everything loaded up right after.
Yeah, well, and that was a tough thing for me. Was like a couple of panels I was getting ready to watch. I knew when the times were dropping, and I'd go to their YouTube page and I'd sit there refresh, it's supposed to be on top of the hour, halfway through the hour. I'm sitting there refreshing, and it's not there. And it's like 5-10 minutes after it's supposed to have been there. I'm like, where the hell is it? Oh, wait, there it is amidst the 8 videos that just went live.
Yeah, so it was a little tough to navigate. So it wasn't just me then. That's my only real takeaway of a negative, because we still got content. And that's the one thing that we as fans still need to appreciate. We get something. Was it all rehashed? Not necessarily. But we did get a lot of stuff to kick off with. And for a fan base that definitely absorbs content like nobody else, we have to be happy with what we got.
Yes.
And like I said, Walking Dead universe, I thought was the first place gold medalist winners, shall I say, with the Olympics going on. I thought Netflix came in second. I'll say that because they had a lot of stuff going on too. And then it's kind of divided up of, everybody else. I mean, I guess we can give the bronze to Sci-Fi USA.
Sure.
They go give a grading system for that. But we gave you our picks about that. More information at Comic-Con or comic-con.org. But like I said, we gave you our picks. But let us know what you thought of San Diego Comic-Con 21 Comic-Con at Home. Hit us up on those social media accounts. You can find all of that and so much more at odphpodcast.com. And let us know what you thought about the con. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey there. I'm Chris from the Geek Peak podcast here with my 2 co-hosts, Trent.
What up?
And Brandon.
Yo.
Here at the Geek Peak, we strive to provide you the best content from all across the pop culture multiverse.
Think of us as your content concierge, seeking out all the best movies, TV, games, and music to save your valuable time.
We have a different adult beverage every week, and we like to keep things light and fresh, so come hang out with us.
So check us out on all your favorite podcasting platforms. That's Geek Peak.
Like a mountain!
And check out our site at geekpeakpod.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to talk the Flash season finale.
Yes.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but I definitely want to make time for it this week because there has been a lot of feedback about this episode.
1 or 2 things.
Good or bad, everybody's got a reaction to this episode.
There's like 1 or 2 tweets.
Oh, quite a few. And we here at the ODPH want to kind of deep dive into it. So we are going to be talking spoilers about the season finale, episode 18, entitled Heart of the Matter Part 2. So you know the deal. Once we give you that spoiler warning, you have been fair warned. We are going to deep dive into the episode. So if you haven't seen it yet and you're planning on watching it, pause the podcast right now, watch it, and then jump back in. Because once we go 3, 2, 1, you know we're going to start diving into it. So that being said, 3, 2, 1, Pad. What did you think?
Thought it was okay. Not a smash hit home run out of the park, but it was still enjoyable, and I'm semi-excited to see where they go from here.
It was okay. It was a better episode of The Flash than I've seen in recent years, but it was okay. I don't think the animosity for the one scene is really warranted to the level it's at.
Yeah.
But I thought it was okay.
Okay.
Because where we are now, the past few episodes, we've had the character Godspeed reappear and is on a secret mission that is now turned into the Godspeed War.
Okay.
So this has kind of been an interesting story that they've been wanting to build. I'm not bad about it because out of the most recent villains they've used on the show, I do like Godspeed.
Sure.
He's had a good run in the comics, no pun intended. I'm okay with this. But we do see some debuts and some returning characters come in for this episode. The man, the myth, the legend, John Wesley Shipp returns as Jay Garrick.
Yep.
We do see the debut of Bart Allen, a.k.a. Impulse, played by Jordan Fisher. We do see the return of Nora West Allen, a.k.a. Excess, played by Jessica Parker Kennedy. And we are seeing that Barry is getting the help of all he can get to deal with the threat of Godspeed, who is now just running all over the city with clones. It gets weird. It gets all over the place. They find the original Godspeed, who has lost his memory.
Yep.
Karan Oberoi has been playing him very well and trying to deal the ramifications of not knowing who he is. And it's kind of like in that sense of Civil War II, where you remember the Marvel heroes were taking out threats before they were threats.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of vibe. It's the same element here with DC and this story.
Yep.
But it's not really kind of clicking that way, because we do know that there are some people trying to take out Godspeed. We do know that Barry is trying to keep him alive.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of really weird how they're playing this out. But where we where we kick off this episode, because where we left off at the last episode, is Barry has entered Godspeed's mind.
Because that's a safe thing to do.
Yeah. Like, we get really weird here. And he winds up having a talk with him, and Godspeed has basically been like, I've lured you here because I'm giving you a proposal. I want organic Speed Force. I don't want artificial. Because if I have that, I can rule the world. I'll keep everybody safe. And like, he has this diluted version.
Trust me, I won't do anything bad with it.
Exactly. And Barry is going, no.
Bullshit.
Yeah, this is not happening, because in the previous episode, he nearly kills Bart. And he's taken out other people too.
Yeah.
This has not exactly been an easy walk in the park. And Barry is forcibly removed from the mind after they kind of have a little skirmish. And he realizes, okay, this is what happens, what's going on with Godspeed, that this has been the plan overall, because he wants all the Speed Force. Well, he winds up tapping into the actual entity of the Speed Force, who brings back Bart and decides to give Iris super speed.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have, if I'm doing my math right, Pad, please correct me if I am wrong.
Yep.
Barry.
Yep.
Iris.
Yep.
Bart.
Yes.
Nora.
Yes.
Jay Garrick.
Yes.
5 speedsters at present time trying to take out Godspeed.
Yep.
Let that sink in for a second.
The Flash family.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
I thought it was cool.
It
was a cool shot.
It's a cool shot for the moment it was in. But yet again, we have those 5 plus Cisco plus Killer Frost plus Esperanza.
Yeah.
Or Allegra, I'm sorry. Esperanza was killed. So you have 8 heroes trying to take down one villain.
To be fair, one villain, but there was like 9 or 10 different copies of him.
I'll give you that.
And they were fast as fuck.
I'll give you that. But still, that was a little overkill in my opinion.
I was all right with it.
Yeah, I mean,
you need those season finales are meant for those, holy shit, I can't believe I'm seeing this moment. Like, so I was okay with it.
I mean, it was all right, but it's still in the back of my head, I'm going like, this is too much. This is way too much.
I know it's not going to last. It didn't. I can see that. It really didn't hang me up though, because I'm like, this ain't going to last. Like, Iris is going to lose her powers next season. The kids are going to go back to the future, no pun intended. Jay's going to go back to his time. His time with his wife. And then Speed Force mom is going to go back off and do her thing. So it's going to be back to just Barry being Barry.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think for this episode, I think kind of took away a little bit. Like, I understand the moment of nostalgia. I get that, and it's cool seeing all the heroes get together.
Yeah.
But it's like...
this is what you've been building up to the whole season. Like, you don't build up and then just go, all right, and it's over.
No, I will grant you that, but it's like... The one argument everybody's had about The Flash, and I agree with this point, is like, we have too many speedsters on during the time. Because we have 5 speedsters fighting 1 speedster. And then we also have another one coming a little later in the show. I digress. But once they get rid of the clones, because everybody winds up doing this because Allegra has a device made by Chester that absorbs the Godspeed powers out of the clones. Folks, it is comics, just roll with it. We do get down to where Barry has to make the ultimate decision and decides to give Godspeed the Speed Force.
Yep.
Or at least a portion of it. So
A little taste.
he gives him something which does clear up his memory amnesia, because we did find out in the dreamscape that due to all the time travel, he has memory loss.
Yeah.
Which I did think was a cool twist.
Yeah.
I did think that was cool because, hey, I mean, you're tampering with all the timelines. Something's got to give. Very interesting idea. But once they wind up restoring who he is, he does escape, and he does get his clones reabsorbed into him.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a weird Madrox moment where everybody comes back into him.
Yeah.
But he winds up doing this. And then we get a return from another character that somebody made a deal somewhere. And Pad, who decides to return but one Ebort Thawne.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that.
This was all types of crazy because we knew Tom Cavanaugh had left the show.
Yep.
So I was not expecting to see him come back.
I mean, to be fair, they said the same thing about Carlos Valdez with Cisco.
Yeah.
That, like, he even did interviews the day or the week his episode aired, where it was supposedly his last show. He's like, oh, you know what? I'm really okay with the way my character left the show. And here he showed up for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's just really puzzling when they put out those statements and everybody comes back. Like, I'm not mad to see them come back.
I think it's learning from history.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart to do, to bring him back, because it definitely threw a curveball to fans. But like I said, once again, you have so many people on that Team Flash side of things, it makes it a little crazy. Because, like we said, once we had the big battle with the Flash family versus the clones,
Yeah.
is kind of like, all right, where do we go from here? And especially during that point, too, everybody had like their superhero moment where they're throwing lightning stars.
Yeah.
I know Jay Garrick threw his helmet that was lightning to it. Kind of just really all over the place. But, and especially, I think at one point, Iris, did she or did she not say, we're the Flash, not you, Barry?
Something like that,
She said some kind of wild statement for that. So to see like that now everybody's thinking they're part of the Flash, and then see Ebort come back, it was just a lot of speedster overkill for me. However, though, we do get to the final showdown, because when Ebort does come back, and for wherever he escapes from, Barry winds up cutting a deal with him that if you help me, I will let you live, or something in that variation.
Yeah, he makes a deal with him.
He makes a deal, and it's kind of a little like confusing what happens here. But this is where they have the Phantom Menace moment. And this is the moment that's driving everybody crazy. Because all of a sudden, Godspeed whips out a light sword, which does look a little bit like a light saber. Now, Pad, you're the Star Wars aficionado. Was that a lightsaber?
It looked like one, yeah. I mean, didn't have the sound, which I'm sure probably copyright reasons, but it looked like one. And it operated like one. As a Star Wars fan, I marked out. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. And then Barry whips out a sword too, and so does Thawne.
Yeah.
And we do have a Phantom Moments reenactment. That did happen.
Yeah, like I said, it was cool.
Yeah, I did not have such an issue with it because, like I said previously in this episode, we had the Flash family versus everybody, and everybody had a special weapon. It looked like a video game scene.
Yeah.
So I was not like, oh my God, what is this? But I was like, okay, well, we're already at this stage. Might as well go with it. They wind up having the battle, and while Barry has Godspeed distracted, Thawne impales him. Now, it's not a fatal blow, which I thought it was for how they hit it. But I digress. It's not. And then once Thawne has taken care of Godspeed, he now turns his attention to Barry.
Because Barry trusts him.
Yeah, but Barry trusts him
Idiot.
enough. Yeah, because Barry trusts him enough that he winds up having a backup plan to absorb the Speed Force out of him.
Yeah, I thought he took his Speed Force away at first.
Yeah.
Because Thawne runs at him. Barry, much like a Bruce Lee movie, steps out of the way and, lets him fall to the ground. And he goes, "What did you do?" And I'm like, oh, shit, did he take away his Speed Force? Like, are we going there? But no.
Yeah, it was kind of like a wild scenario that he basically allows Thawne to come back, subdues him, and then Thawne escapes.
Yep.
Or Barry lets him go, which, I mean, still is kind of a little crazy in its own right.
That's worked out before for heroes.
Like I said, there's a lot of reasons moments in this. And it's kind of just goes back to how the Flash has kind of let some things slip, in my opinion. And where we end with this is Godspeed is now put in Iron Heights. His memory was tampered with by the Speed Force entity.
Yep.
Because Barry's identity was compromised. Now it's completely wiped away. What else could that happen? I don't know. We'll see.
Nothing at all.
And then it ends with Barry and Iris renewing their vows at the house.
Aw, shucks.
So this episode, like I said, a little all over the place.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, it wasn't the worst episode we've seen of The Flash. I will say that. I thought Grant Gustin and Candace Patton did a great job doing the married couple vibe to this, especially with the wedding. I mean, that's one thing they've been trying to tie into, that at the end of the day, it still comes back to Barry and Iris, which I get, and I respect for that. And then the other cast definitely helped out, contributed. It just seemed like there was a lot of moving parts, though. That's the only thing I didn't like, per se.
So the only thing I didn't like was the Bart singing. Like in the middle of the wedding vows. I was like, why are we doing this? Like, it's touching enough as is.
They've had this weird thing with music all season, that there's a musical number at the end almost at each episode.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like,
and it's more than just like the stereotypical, like, put a song at the end of the episode for like just that background song.
Yeah, like, it's weird. I mean,
like I said, it was weird and felt out of place for me, because I'm like, all right, this is already touching enough. Everything they've gone through, they still have, being separated for so long, and then the mirror dimension, and now they're back together, and everything's all well and dandy. It was already touching enough. Like, you didn't have to make it corny.
it just seemed over the top. And that's one thing that I think they really describes this episode. It was over the top. I understand it's a season finale and they want to go big, and I get that, and I respect that. But I thought there was just too much going on at the crucial moments. Like I said, when the Flash family came out there and Iris said whatever she said, I was like, oh, all right, just too much. And especially with the video game moments that happened in that battle, because like I said, I don't want to really kind of touch upon them, because it was like, I thought it took away a little bit, because the clones that were running crazy for the past 3 episodes now were taken out so easily.
Yeah.
It was really kind of, why were they even here? I mean, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. And then to the final battle, which, like I said, everybody lost their mind to on the net. And they're still memeing to this day.
I mean, that don't take much for the internet.
Oh, I understand that, but it's like, it's not the end-all, be-all scene ever. Like,
No.
It's not like they...
It's not the final scene of the series. Like, it's just another scene.
And especially, it's not like they completely reenacted the Phantom Menace. Like, when I saw the swords come out, I was like, okay,
They could have.
Oh, they could have.
They could have.
The minute Godspeed had a second sword out, I thought you should just put it together, go Darth Maul, and be done.
Yeah.
Would have been okay. Would have been like, all right, fine. We're copying him. Sure, cool.
I prefer the dual wield method, though, so that's just me.
Yeah, but like I said, it wasn't as bad as everybody thought.
No, it was okay.
But I think we're where the show used to be to where it is now.
Yeah.
Then I think that's where the major disconnect is, because The Flash used to be the strongest show, in my opinion, on the DC side of things on the CW. It's been very much surpassed now by Superman and Lois.
Well, yeah.
Stargirl is great, and Batwoman is not bad either. Like, I'm starting to catch up more on that. I went back in after the season finale and started dipping in a little bit. So there's a lot of competition for The Flash, and especially being now it's going on season 8. I mean, it's really going to be a test to see where they finish out things. So with that all being said, Pat, I mean, final thoughts on this season and episode?
I thought the episode was okay. Was what it was. Not one I'll go rewatch immediately, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And the season was okay. A lot of ups and downs, but I don't ultimately regret watching the season, and I'm not sitting there going, boy, that's a lot of hours I wish I had back. So ultimately, for me, it was okay.
I'm with you. It was okay. I mean, from the episodes I've caught, and like I said, I got more into it when Godspeed came back. The whole return of the Black Hole organization just really turned me off, because I could care less about that one. But for where they finished, I thought it finished okay. Does it leave me with a lot of hope for next season? Yes and no. I think they could just tighten up a few things. If they are going to be really focusing on making the team smaller, I think that could help.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to wind up being. But now the question is, are Bart and Nora going to stay? Do they go back to the future? Is this a one and done? And then who's going to be the next antagonist? Is it going to be another season of Thawne? If it's another season of Thawne, I'm okay with, because that's a classic Flash villain. There's a lot of ways you can go with it. Tom Cavanaugh, if you give him material, he will make the magic happen. No question of that. But it's just how many stories you're going to wind up doing, and unless this is the final season. If this is the final season, that's a different story.
So to which they have not said so far that it is.
Correct. Because if they do, I think they should write it like how they wrote Arrow's final season. Leave it on the table. Don't leave anything to chance, and take chances. Do some crazy stuff. Let's have some excitement with this. before we finished, I thought The Flash finished okay.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of have to wait and see when it returns later about the direction Grant Gustin and company are going to go in.
Mm-hmm.
We give you our picks about that. So why don't you hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod, and let us know what you thought of the Flash season finale. You're still watching The Flash, or are you not? And why? And especially if you caught Heart of the Matter Part 2. What is your takeaway from that episode? The fight scenes, were they too corny, or were they cool? What is the vibe? I want to get that from the ODPH Society. So hit us up, let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
In the not-too-distant future, following the rapid succession of World Wars III and IV, plus the hidden horrors of secret World War II, there's not much left. All that remains is a place where folks get together to read and discuss comic books. Sometimes they laugh, sometimes they argue, but they always record and upload their transmissions. You've found one of those transmissions today. Welcome to the last comic shop. Rate, review, and subscribe to our weekly comic book reviews on all the major podcasting platforms at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pat, what you got for those one-shots?
Got a couple things to talk about, the first of which I admit probably should have seen coming, seeing as it's the 20th anniversary this year. But it didn't cross my mind until I saw it announced last night. And if you heard in the Northeast or on the East Coast a supersonic yelling of excitement, that was probably me, because it was announced that Smallville, which turns 20, like I mentioned, this year, is getting a Blu-ray box set plus a digital code of the complete series. Reading on the website cinelinks.com, they quote the press release, quote, "It's been 20 years since Clark Kent first arrived in Kansas, and in honor of the 20th anniversary of the remarkable series Smallville, the complete series 20th anniversary edition will soar onto Blu-ray for the first time ever from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment on October 19th, 2021. This set for the ultimate fan features all 218 episodes, along with over 28 hours of bonus features from all 10 incredible seasons, plus digital copy, US only. Smallville, the complete series, 20th anniversary edition Blu-ray is priced to own at $179.99 SRP, or $209.99 in Canada, and will also be available on DVD for $154.99 SRP, or $184.99 in Canada. The groundbreaking Emmy-winning 10-season hit that redefined the origins of the world's greatest superhero is all here. From Krypton refugee Kal-El's arrival on Earth, through his tumultuous teen years, to Kent's final steps towards embracing his destiny as the Man of Steel. Relive a decade's worth of thrills and fantastic adventures full of action, heart, and humor in abundance, all anchored by the marvelous performance of Tom Welling at its center. Savor again in the series' thoughtful and imaginative integration and reinvention of the iconic characters of DC lore, and let your spirits be lifted up, up, and away. Smallville, the complete series 20th anniversary edition, includes 2 DVD discs with over 28 hours of bonus features originally released on the Smallville season 1 through 10 DVD sets. So some of the features are the adventures of Superboy, the original 1961 pilot starring John Rockwell. A retrospective look at the series' 10-year journey, an in-depth season-by-season look at the creation of this landmark television series. Highlights include interviews with Tom Welling, Erica Durance, Michael Rosenbaum, Phil Morris, John Schneider, and many more, as well as rare behind-the-scenes footage, a decade of Comic-Con features, Paley Festival featurette, Smallville's 100th episode, Making of a Milestone, an extended version of the original featurette included in the Season 5 set, Secret Origin, the American story of DC Comics, a feature-length documentary chronicling DC's 75 years of challenges, creativity, and triumph, and then audio commentaries, deleted and extended scenes, gag reels, behind-the-scenes features, and much, much more from all 10 seasons. I cannot wait. This is going on my wish list for things I would like for my birthday and Christmas. I am super excited for this.
Yeah, I guess it's okay.
You
fair.
bite your goddamn tongue. We would not have Superman and Lois, Stargirl, Titans, Doom Patrol, or any of the other Arrowverse shows if Smallville did not run 10 seasons and be as successful as it was.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you never know. No, it definitely looks cool. I'm definitely excited.
I
for
am
it.
too, and like I said, I need it on my shelf, and I need it so I can watch it. Moving on to some other news and some unfortunate news. It was announced late last night, as on Tuesday night, as we record, that Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul star Bob Odenkirk collapsed on set and was taken to the hospital. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Odenkirk, who was 58 years old, was filming the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when an incident occurred. Crew members immediately responded to Odenkirk's collapse in an ambulance for the star to be swiftly taken to the hospital, where he remained Tuesday night. It is not immediately clear what caused the collapse, though David Cross, who collaborated with Odenkirk on HBO's Mr. Show with Bob and David, assured fans that he would provide an update when possible. Quote, "I will share what I know when I can, but Bob is one of the strongest people I know, both physically and spiritually," he wrote on Twitter. "He will get through this." No update is given as a recording, so we're not quite sure what, but stay tuned to social media. I'm sure you will find out what is going on. You did have a reaching out of some of the stars from both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul reach out in support, especially Michael McKean, who played Odenkirk's co-star and was one of his brothers, or played his brother on Better Call Saul, tweeted, "Sending huge love to our at Mr. Bob Odenkirk. You got this, brother." You also had the likes of one Brian Cranston reach out and say, quote, "My friend Bob Odenkirk, today I woke up to the news that has made me anxious all morning. My friend Bob Odenkirk collapsed last night on the set of Better Call Saul. Please take a moment in your day today to think about him and send positive thoughts and prayers his way. Thank you." You also had the likes of Aaron Paul, who played Jesse Pinkman on Breaking Bad, post a photo on Instagram. It's a headshot of Bob Odenkirk, but he posted it with the caption, "I love you, my friend," and then a heart emoji. So definitely sending out our thoughts and well wishes to Bob Odenkirk and for a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. Positive thoughts and vibes out to him right now.
Moving on to some movie news. It appears that the movie I didn't realize was in development is officially dead. There was apparently a movie titled McClane, which it was set to be a prequel to the Die Hard franchise, is officially dead.
Good.
Reading from an article on IGN.com, it says, quote, "After spending more than 5 years in development on a 6th entry, the Die Hard franchise is now officially dormant. Producer Lorenzo di Bonaventura confirmed that McClane, a project conceived as both a prequel and sequel to the action series, was abandoned following the Disney-Fox merger in 2019. Quote, "Yeah, no, it's not happening," di Bonaventura told Polygon. "What was really interesting was we actually came up with an idea to do it. It was a project that wasn't Die Hard that then eventually shifted over to Die Hard," close quote. McClane was set to feature Bruce Willis's return to the role of John McClane with a structure that would have shifted between a modern timeline and the 1970s. A different actor would have played a younger version of McClane, with the story exploring the character's early days as a New York City police officer. Quote, "What was interesting about our idea was it allowed you the ability to meet the young John McClane and use Bruce. It was really interesting in that way, so you sort of got to see both versions of him, a bit like The Godfather Part 2. Close quote, that from di Bonaventura. The project had taped The Conjuring writers Chad and Carrie Hayes to rewrite the script. Additionally, Live Free or Die Hard director Len Weissman was reportedly set to return to the franchise and to helm the sequel. However, the project fell by the wayside after Disney acquired 21st Century Fox.
Good. I'm sorry. I loved this movie franchise in the beginning.
Sure.
Die Hard 1 is a classic, and 2 is great too. We don't need a prequel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
Not everything needs a prequel.
No, you just don't. I mean, I just don't see at this day and age where Die Hard people are demanding a prequel. The fans are not really screaming out. I mean, you take a look at the last movie that came out about it. I thought it did okay at the box office, but it wasn't a big hit. It wasn't like, whoa, we need to get everything going in production again. So for me, it's good. I'm not mad about this at all.
Sure.
And I hope they just don't revisit it. Like, let Die Hard be Die Hard.
Yeah.
It's a great movie to watch at Christmas time.
Moving on to some Netflix news, and again, they continue to put out more and plan out more content featuring video games because it is being reported from Giant Freaking Robot that Netflix is working on a Dragon Age series.
Really?
Yeah, so according to an article from IGN.com, a Dragon Age TV series is reportedly in active development at Netflix. According to a report from Giant Freaking Robot, the sprawling epic fantasy universe of BioWare's Dragon Age game franchise is the latest title to have been selected for a series adaptation over at Netflix. The streaming giant is said to be actively working on the Dragon Age series, even though it hasn't been officially announced by Netflix or BioWare yet. Word of the series has allegedly come from a trusted and proven source. However, very little is known about the adaptation at this point, particularly in regards to whether the show would take an animated approach, much like Castlevania, or whether it would be live-action affair similar to The Witcher, though the report seems to indicate that it could be the latter. BioWare's popular action RPG game series takes place on the fictional continent of Thetis and follows the experiences of the fantasy crew that inhabit the vast mystical world. The franchise has spawned numerous spin-off games alongside its main series titles, including Dragon Age 4, which is currently in development. I am always a fan of getting good video game adaptations, not bad ones. And so far, Netflix has hit like home runs out of the park with their video game adaptations. Castlevania is really good. You know, they've got The Witcher, which is an adaptation of both a book series and a video game that is fantastic. I know they're working on, I think it's a movie adaptation of the Ubisoft Tom Clancy game, The Division. Although it's going to be real interesting to see how the crowd takes to that given the last year and a half, because the first game came out in like 2016, 2015. Very interesting concept at that time, where a plague hits New York and things get a little crazy, but it's going to be interesting to see how people take to that now. But no, Netflix has been doing a lot of great work with video games, and there are a ton of great stories in video games. I know video games get kind of like pushed aside by some folks because, it's for kids.
Yeah.
There's some awesome stories in video games that, if done right, make for fantastic TV series.
Netflix has got the track record that we got to put some faith behind this.
Yes.
They have not dropped the ball, knocking on wood, that we have to say, okay, let's run with this. Because everything they've done lately has been spot on, including the Masters of the Universe show, which I have not finished, so I don't want to get into a breakdown of that, but from what I've seen so far, I like.
Sure.
You got to give them credit where credit's due. And if the property holds up to their track record, they'll be fine. If it's not, well, the fans will let them know, and then we'll go in a different direction. Yeah,
and speaking of shows Netflix has got coming that I am very surprised by, and I know my girlfriend Liz Bailey is going to be excited for this, Netflix is apparently working on a live-action Pokemon series.
Really?
So, yeah, for those who don't know, Pokemon the animated anime is still going. Netflix secured the U.S. rights to it, because I know it had been on... Then it started on Kids WB, I think, and from when I started watching. And then it eventually moved over to Cartoon Network, and it was on Cartoon Network for a long time. But the rights left Cartoon Network and were acquired by Netflix. So all of the new series are dropping, the new episodes, not weekly, but like in batches, kind of like what Netflix does, are dropping on Netflix. So Netflix has got the U.S. rights to Pokemon. So according to an article from IGN.com, they say, quote, according to Variety, Henderson is slated to write and executive produce the live adaptation of Pokemon. He is currently the co-showrunner on Netflix's popular Lucifer series based on the DC comic. Reports say the series is aiming to replicate Detective Pikachu, a 2019 live-action Pokemon movie starring Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith. It was pretty good, actually. However, Netflix's series is its own independent production. Henderson, previously known for the show Almost Human, has been serving as Lucifer's co-showrunner since 2016 and moved with the series when it was picked up by Netflix. It is now one of the more popular revivals Netflix has acquired from a cable network. Netflix is currently home to several existing Pokemon anime seasons, and interested to develop a live-action series stems from the anime's success on the streaming platform. Alongside acquiring more anime originals, Netflix is currently working on adapting several anime into live-action shows, including Cowboy Bebop and One Piece. The Pokemon live-action series is reportedly very early in development, and there are neither plot details nor casting plans in place. Close quote. So definitely very interesting. I know it's super super popular. The Pokemon stuff is very popular over on Netflix. When the new series and batch of episodes drop, they always are in like the top 3 on the stuff streaming at Netflix. I know they got the rights to the redo of the very first Pokemon movie that came out in 1999 or something. Verbatim, the same story, just a little bit of tweaks here and there, nothing too crazy, but it's instead of being 2D animation, it's CGI 3D animation. You know, so it's a huge hit for them. And I know when they got the first like 2 or 3 seasons of the anime, hugely popular when that dropped a couple of years ago. So definitely got to strike while the iron's hot with that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you take a look at, not too long ago, was that movie with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, with Detective Pikachu. Yeah, it was huge numbers.
Yeah,
great movie.
Did big numbers. And then remember pre-COVID, the app game with Pokemon Go?
Oh, yeah, it's still popular, still going.
Yeah, in fact, aren't they doing a revamp of that too? Or
well,
something?
there's another game that came out, Pokemon Unite, is that what I think it's called, where it's like a massive online battle. It's like a MOBA type of thing. Fair warning, though, it's fun from what I understand. I haven't delved into it myself. It's fun if you're into the MOBA style of games. There is a very heavy and very concerning amount of monetization in the game, where just if you kind of dig into it and you look at it and you crunch the numbers, you go, yeah, you almost need to pay to advance in this game. So I will probably not be checking it out, but if you do and you enjoy it, hey, more power to you.
Fair enough. I just know that with those mobile games, they're doing a lot. And remember when that Pokemon Go first came out?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was running around everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great way to get people outside. If you want to get your kids outside,
I still play with my girlfriend, you know, every once in a while, you know, probably about once a month or so. Like we play it every once in a while, but like we'll go out once a month when they do their community day where it's like one Pokemon is featured. You get a rare shiny version of that. You know, we still go out and do that once a month because it's a fun few hours.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm not knocking anybody who does it. I'm just saying, like, for the popularity that it is, like, if people don't think that that's still up there. It's like
the show has been going for 20 years now.
Yeah, it's wild.
Which I again never thought would happen. It's insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of insane and couldn't believe it when I read it. Howard the Duck. How do you feel about the movie, not the character?
Oh my God. Oh wait, the movie? Okay.
Yes.
The movie is 80s perfection.
It's wild.
It's nuts. It's all over the place.
Watch it at your own risk.
Exactly. Like it's the 1980s wrapped up in one.
Yeah. So there was an interview done with by the Hollywood Reporter with Chip Zen, who was the voice of Howard the Duck in the film. We learned, and I don't think many people knew this, he was not the original choice to voice said duck in the film.
Oh no.
Robin Williams was originally...
Shut up.
Yeah, Robin Williams was originally tapped to voice Howard the Duck.
That would have been crazy.
So, again, reading from IGN.com, the late Robin Williams was originally cast to voice Howard the Duck in Marvel and Lucasfilm's movie of the same name, but he quit after a week due to voice syncing frustrations. This news comes by way of the Hollywood Reporter, who learned of this casting revelation in an interview with Chip Zien, the person who was called in to voice Howard after Williams quit. THR also spoke with the actor who played Howard's love interest in the film, Leah Thompson, about this film and the notoriety it quickly garnered upon release. Quote, "What I was told was by the third day, Robin said, 'I can't do this. It is insane. I can't get the rhythm of this. I am being confined. I am being handcuffed to match the flapping duck's bill.'" So Zian said. So on Memorial Day 1985, I got a call from my agent who said, you have to get right to the airport. Robin Williams just quit, and you're now Howard the Duck. You need to get there tonight. There is a ticket waiting for you at the counter. I was incredibly excited. Diving further into why Williams quit, it wasn't necessarily that the role was just voiceover, it's that the scenes featuring Howard had already been shot, meaning that Williams would need to voice the lines in such an exact way that they line up with the footage of the character that had already been shot. This hampered Williams' famous improvisational style, see Disney's Aladdin, and the frustration became enough for the actor that he quit before the first week was done. Zien went on to say that he had signed on for a total of 3 films. He was also set to work as a fill-in host on Entertainment Tonight, become the voice of AT&T, and receive the rights to Talking Howard the Duck dolls. It was overwhelming, he said. However, when Howard the Duck hit 1,554 theaters on August 1st, 1986, It took in just $5 million in its first weekend. The Hollywood Reporter reports that the movie's reported budget was more than $45 million, including marketing. And when it was all said and done, the movie raked in just $16.2 million domestically and $37.9 million worldwide. It was technically Marvel's first box office bomb. Anyone familiar with the character likely knows that Howard the Duck is now officially part of the MCU. He showed up in Guardians 1 and 2. So, yeah, Robin Williams was almost Howard the Duck.
That's mind-blowing. That is just absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
He would have been completely out of control and they would have rewrote that entire script, and that would have been hysterical.
And that's Robin Williams' style, where he voices the character before they animate or whatever, computer generate the character. And that's famous from his work with Aladdin, because a lot of his mannerisms and what he did in the booth made it into that movie. That like the genie was going to be this character. He was going to be a little comedic and a little funny, but not to the degree until Robin Williams came in and voiced the character famously, might I add.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
If only, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one last one before I get to my comic picks, because this is some interesting news. Apparently the review embargo is up for Suicide Squad.
Oh.
I'm not reading any reviews and not reading what people think, but I saw the Rotten Tomato score. Out of 55 currently, let me just refresh it because I opened it a little bit ago. Out of the, still at 55 reviews currently on Rotten Tomato. It is sitting at 98%.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah.
Because what's the record's like, what, 96?
Something like that. Yeah,
Holy smokes.
so it's sitting at 96%.
Glad I got my tickets. I'm ready for that.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the critic reviews for Suicide Squad. There's one person who has a negative review. Everybody else has got like really positive things to say about it. Super excited for that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be talking about that next week, obviously, for the preview. But man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that movie.
Yep. And then for my comic picks this week, you've got Action Comics issue 1033 out this week. Amazing Spider-Man issue number 71. Nick Spencer's still writing. Sinister War is still ongoing. Enough said. Detective Comics issue number 1040. You've got the insanity with that. Christ, I'm showing Ken the cover of this.
Yo.
Literally, Bruce Wayne is behind bars. That's what it says on the cover. Bruce Wayne is in jail.
Detective is so underrated.
The little description reads, when the cops brought Bruce Wayne in for questioning last month, a giant money man with a bazooka and a mustache for days blew the place up. It's not a joke. So what's that mean for Gotham's ex-favorite son? Well, it means Bruce Wayne has to spend a weekend in lockup. Can Batman's alter ego go the weekend without getting stabbed? I suppose, to be fair, he's stabbed on the reg as Batman anyway. Plus, a major Batman villain meets his death in a story that will rock the world of Gotham City in a monstrous way. Do not miss the night, redacted, was killed by Dan Waters and Kyle Holtz. Cannot wait to read that one. And then some more picks. You've got Star Wars The High Republic issue number 7 coming from Kevin Scott, so definitely excited for that. Star Wars Adventures issue number 7 coming from the folks over at IDW. And then also we've got the mainline Star Wars comic issue number 15 from the great Charles Soule, which reads, Friends and enemies, Luke Skywalker embarks upon an epic mission with Wedge Antilles and the brave pilots of Starlight Squadron to rescue a lost division of Rebel Fleet. Leia Organa, Chewbacca, and Lando Calrissian attempt to save Han Solo from the evil clutches of Boba Fett. But what hidden vision will the Force send to Luke about the troubles to come? So definitely excited to read that. Plus, it's from Charles Soule. Can't go wrong.
No, you can't.
You've got Transformers Beast Wars issue number 6, which is, again, is the fantastic retelling of the original series, with little tweaks. And I got to mention, the final chapter in Transformers War for Cybertron, whatever the hell it's called, with the Beast Wars making their triumphant return, comes out on Netflix this week. Just saying. The description of the comic, though, reads, Savage Landing, Part 6. It's a siege on the Axelon as the Predacons attempt to end the Beast Wars before they even begin by bringing down the Maximals and their base. As Megatron and his loyal troops launch their assault, one bot on Optimus Primal's ship decides to put it all on the line and to help the others turn the tide. So definitely excited for that. And then you've got the United States of Captain America issue number 2 coming out from Marvel.
On my end, for comic picks, definitely want to plug 2 that we have new blogs on Parlay Points for.
Okay.
Now, one is a book that has been highly recommended to me from our friends over at Comic Book Keepers. I know our guy Brian Wayne from Cheers to Comics is talking about this one, and that is by Vault Comics, and it's Barbaric Number 2 by Michael Morrissey and Nathan Gooden. Okay, so here is the whole concept. You got a badass barbarian that is cursed to do good.
Okay.
He has what appears to be like a symbiotic X that is his moral guide, but is easily distracted with a good beverage or two.
Sure.
And they get connected with a necromancer, and the insanity begins.
Sure.
It's fantastic. I love this book. I cannot speak highly enough about it. It pops off the page. There's a lot of good to be read with it. So if you like fun fantasy action, this is your book. Guarantee you. So definitely look for Barbaric Number 2 on the shelves by Vault. And of course, we have Shadowman Number 4. Now, Pat, you know I'm a huge fan of this book.
Yes.
I do love a lot of Valiant Comics. Cullen Bunn and John Davis Hunt absolutely crush it again with this issue. It's the end of the first story arc. A wild cliffhanger they give you.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil too much, but damn, they have really teetered a line between superheroes and supernatural. And they're doing it exceptionally flawless. It is on point each issue. The art is fantastic. It's creepy imagery, which you get from the horror aspect of it.
Sure.
With basic superhero elements mixed in. And Cullen Bunn is absolutely just crushing it with the storytelling. Like, he can really set up the scenario where it's just straight up horror movie and then flip it to heroes. It is a very cool, fresh take on Jack Boniface. I can't recommend this enough. And like I say, if you haven't gotten into Valiant Comics, do yourself a favor. Get on board now. I am saying this as a fan because they put out solid work. They've always put out solid work. I have been a fan of them since in the 90s when they first came out. This is definitely living up to the quality stuff. And if you're looking for something that's different than the superhero genre, I mean, they do have superhero books. They do write them very well. But Shadowman is one that teeters on that line. It's more of a horror hero comic than anything, but it's damn cool. So definitely want to give that some recommendations when you head down to the LCS. And, of course, support your favorite comic podcasts as well. That being said, my one-shots, let's keep it in the comic realm, because when I heard about this comic news, I nearly lost my damn mind. Reading from the Hollywood Reporter, quote, Scott Snyder, the prolific comic book writer known for his work on DC's Batman and Justice League, and original projects such as American Vampire and Witches, is lining up a roster of creator-owned projects that boast an impressive array of artists. Snyder and his Best Jacket Press have signed a deal to co-create 8 titles for Comixology Originals. These titles will debut via the Amazon-owned digital comic service and Kindle, then appear in print via Dark Horse Books. Among the lead books in this is a book called We Have Demons. Pad, do you want to guess who the artist is on this?
Greg Capullo.
Hell yeah! The dynamic duo is back. I said it, and I'm standing by it. My guys are back doing a book together, creator-owned. Just take my money now. Just take it. I don't need it. Just go.
All right, hand it over.
Yeah, I'll be handed to make sure. So the titles are scheduled to start rolling out in October. So definitely keep some, eyes on this. Save up some money now.
Sure.
I mean, this is just a cool project that is going on. And like I said, I cannot speak more highly about this. Like, just the fact that we have a creator-owned book by Snyder Capullo coming out, let alone he has a few other artists that he's working with, some other titles. Support the hell out of this. This just sounds like such a cool concept that they're doing. And especially if you're going through Comixology, that's a cool thing to do. And I'm not saying go away from the comic shops. You should definitely buy the books in print too. I support them either way because, this is just the medium that you need to get behind. So I'm definitely excited for this. So definitely check that out when it hits in October. Super, super excited about this. And keeping it Batman news too. Okay. We did hear that there is some news involving the Spotify podcast.
Okay.
that is coming out. So there is a podcast coming out called Batman Unburied. So, and it's tied with screenwriter David S. Goyer from The Dark Knight.
Okay.
And we did hear that there has been a couple voice actors named.
Okay.
Winston Duke will be voicing Bruce Wayne. We know him from the movie Black Panther.
Yeah.
And Harry Potter actor Jason Isaacs is tagged as Alfred.
Interesting.
So
Because he normally plays bad guys.
yes. So this is very interesting when this is coming. So definitely keep an ear out for it as more information breaks. We'll definitely be talking about it as it's coming, but this is the initial casting going on with this podcast. So I am excited. And like I say, if you're a fan of the comic podcasts, like we know about the Wolverine one that was on Stitcher.
Wolverine that did the 2 seasons. They did one for the Fantastic Four. They've currently got one going for Old Man Star-Lord and Rocket, which is fan-fucking-tastic. They got a lot to live up to with the stuff Marvel's been doing because they've been really good and really well produced.
Yes. So there's no timetable about the release, but it's seriously with this lineup going, I can't wait to check this out. Winston Duke is going to crush it as Bruce Wayne. So that being said, a couple trailers I want to talk about. Well, one movie and one trailer before I close out the show.
Sure.
So trailer-wise, we did have the latest come from Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh yeah.
Now I know, Pat, you're not familiar with this franchise. I'm
No.
not using it as a bash or anything.
No, and people may be saying, "How have you never seen Ghostbusters?" All right, well, folks, let me paint a little picture for you here. The first movie came out before I was born. The second movie came out the year I was born, and then the various animated series came out before I was born. And my parents never owned the films on VHS, so I just never had an opportunity to see it. And it's never been one of those like, oh, I want to go out and watch it. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a thing.
Right. Well, for me, obviously, that was one franchise I grew up on, so I was super excited to hear about this remake. I know that there's been a couple since the movie came out originally back in the 80s. So this one, though, definitely captures that vibe. And the latest trailer definitely touches upon the 84 classic. There's a lot of Easter eggs going on, especially involving marshmallows. And I'm just super excited to see where this goes. We know that Paul Rudd is starring in this movie, along with Finn Wolfhard, who we know from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So we got to wait to kind of see, because I know this is connecting with the original Ghostbusters franchise. Especially, there is a voice at the end of the trailer that I think I know who that is, but I don't want to play spoiler. Because if you have watched Ghostbusters, you have an idea who it is. It's going to connect a lot of things. A lot of nostalgia that if you watched the original franchise, you're going to absolutely be in your happy place about this. Can't wait to check this movie out when it drops, slated November 11th. So stay tuned for that.
Cool.
And I did actually get to see a movie. I know Pat didn't, but he says he has no issue with me talking about it.
No, go ahead.
That is one Snake Eyes,
Oh yeah.
which came in third at the box office this week. M. Night Shyamalan's Old got number 1.
I'm not surprised by that. The from the trailers and just the whole premise of the movie, Old seems very wild. Like, what the hell is going on? But that's Shyamalan for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's typical of him. I was actually surprised. I thought Snake Eyes would draw out a little bit more of the fan base. Without going too spoilery here, they are right. I think it's the best one of the G.I. Joe franchise, but
That's not a high bar.
it's not a high bar. The action is phenomenal. The action is very, very cool. They do a lot of cool stuff in this movie. But the story is not the best.
Sure.
It's kind of around that Fast 9 level, if you catch my drift.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're not... I always tell people, like, if you're going to a movie that's based off a cartoon, like a G.I. Joe, a Transformers...
Sure.
Are you really going for the script, or are you really going to see just the crazy action?
I mean, you're going for... Well, no, first of all, if it's G.I. Joe specifically, you're going for the nostalgia.
Yeah.
You're going for the nostalgia, and then you're going for the action.
Right. That's what I mean with this. So it's like everybody's like complaining about the script. It's like, yeah, but you kind of know what you're getting into when
were you expecting Citizen Kane?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was reading some online reviews, and I'm like, yeah, what were you really expecting? Like they did tinker around a little bit with the origin, and they tried giving Snake Eyes, played by Henry Golding, a redemption arc, so to speak. And I know that it was a little confusing at first, but like I said, this had more of a Fast Furious vibe to it, of how they were writing it. And it was, like I said, a lot of stuff was moving fast, no pun intended. But they were kind of just getting through the story just to get to the action, which like I said, I wasn't mad about. I was like, okay, great. Perfect. We're here. With the bonus scene at the end, I mean, obviously, I think they were planning on doing more G.I. Joe movies, so it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. A couple things were really forced in this movie, too.
Sure.
Which, yeah, like I don't even like kind of forced into, just because it should have just been kept around Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, who was played by Andrew Koji.
Okay.
I think the minute you started adding in other elements of G.I. Joe and Cobra to a degree, I think it really kind of hurt the film. And plus, there was a moment in the film, too, where they had a perfect time. I'll use a wrestling term. They had a perfect time to turn Storm Shadow heel.
Sure.
And they didn't. So when it happened later in the film, because I'm sorry, it's not really a spoiler if you've seen G.I. Joe, so I'm just putting that out there. I felt they really came off flat.
Okay.
But if they did it the one time, I thought they would nail that out of the park. I'm like,
Sure.
okay, great. But if you're looking for a fun summer action movie,
We're going to get out of the heat.
yeah, G.I. Joe is worth your time. Snake Eyes is. It will definitely bring back nostalgia for you. The origin is very different than what you've seen in the comic and in previous incarnations. But it's not the end of the world. But like I say, they kind of stretch things out for a movie purpose. Like you can kind of get that vibe because they want to build up towards the action, which, like I said, the action's on point. In fact, the best action sequences you'll see is played by Peter Mensah, who plays the Blind Master. I'm just going to leave you with that because he was phenomenal in his action scenes. So if you're looking for a movie to kind of escape the heat with, this will be up your alley. And if not, you know, like I say, there's other movies coming out that we got a lot to recap, kind of the ODPH, so we definitely will give you a lot to check out in the movie theaters moving forward for the rest of the year. But Snake Eyes, definitely let us know what you think on hashtag ODPHpod. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? Because I like to talk about G.I. Joe with everybody. Pat, that all being said, the music you heard on this edition of the ODPH comes from our good friends at Shout Out the Robots. They've been playing some live gigs out.
Yeah.
And they've been absolutely killing it. If I want to find out more about them, where do I go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. You swing on over to the music section. You check out everything going on with them. Everything going on with Second Suitor, who is playing a show. And a possible wrestling match.
I stand by what I said on Second Suitor's post. No disrespect. My money's on Sean.
Yeah, Sean Carr, the Excite Wrestling Champion, versus I don't know. That could get kind of crazy for the Suitor belt. What are we talking about? Well, simple. If you go over to the music section, you can click on the Facebook page for Second Suitor. You can find out all about the show on the X. Going on August 6th. Suitor Bowl. Or Suitor Slam, rather. You can find out all about that. You can also find out everything going on with Floodlines, everything going on with Yard Party, everything going on with Tom Jolu, who has a fantastic album coming out. Or out right now. I should say coming out, but I've had it for a while. It's fine. It's fantastic. Brian Wolf, too. Man, so many musicians allow us to play their stuff on the show, and we're so grateful for that. And that's why we say support the hell out of them. We make it so easy for you. Swing on over to the music section. Click right away. Also, right at the webpage, check out The Classifieds, which has friends of the show, such as Dragon Master Games, Excite Wrestling. You have organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter. You have all the amazing pod groups we are in via the Podchaser pages. Because, frankly, if you're not on Podchaser with your pod group, you're not in a pod group. Just saying. So definitely want to shout out everybody in the aPODalypse and everybody in Inner Circle. And, of course, everybody in hashtag 607 Podcast. Rich, Ron, Mike C., and, of course, hashtag Big Natty Cool Diesel, who will have a lot to say, along with Rich, about the egregious comments made about GCW Homecoming on 607 TWS this week. So if you're not following twitch.tv/607 Podcast, make sure that you do, because, I think that's going to have some fireworks.
Yeah, just a few.
Just a few. All of that and so much more at odphpodcast.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.